Buenos días. Bueno, señores accionistas.
Good morning, dear shareholders.
Doy la bienvenida, les agradezco su asistencia.
I welcome you all and thank you for attending
General de Accionistas
this annual general meeting convened as per the resolution adopted by the Board of Directors on April 25th, 2024, and I'll give the floor to the Board Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. This annual general meeting is being held according to the announcement of the call to meeting published on our website and on the CNB's website on April 25th, 2024, and in the newspaper El País on April 26th, 2024. The company offers shareholders the possibility of attending this annual general meeting in person or by telematic means. All these measures are in compliance with corporate obligations and fully guarantee the political rights of the shareholders. Like every year, we can read the notice of call, or if you prefer, consider the text as read since it is already known. Those attending by telematic means who so wish may make their statements as well as their requests for information or clarification in writing through the telematic assistance application in the participation section, or make the relevant communications to the notary public. If any of the remote attendees wishes his or her participation to be recorded in the minutes, he or she must expressly state so in the text. In the event that proposals are made on matters that are not stated on the agenda, remote attendees may vote from the moment at which said proposals are read out. In any case, the voting period for remote attendees on all proposed resolutions, whether or not they are included in the agenda, will end after the Secretary has read the summary of said proposed resolutions. We therefore consider the notice of meeting to have been read. It is hereby stated for the record that no alternative resolution proposals have been submitted on the matters already included in the agenda, and the requests for information or clarifications made by the shareholders have been timely addressed and are available on the company's website. We also inform you that from the date of the notice of the meeting until today, the company has made available on its corporate website all the information provided for in Article 518 of the Spanish Companies Act. The presiding board of this AGM is formed by the members of the Board of Directors and the notary, Mr. Francisco Miras Ortiz, who has been requested by agreement of the Board of Directors to draw up the minutes of the annual general meeting. The notary public is located on the left-hand side of the presiding board. This annual general meeting is presided over by Mr. José Manuel Entrecanales Domecq, Chairman of the Board of Directors. The list of attendees is being finalized by the company's quorum counting services with the date of the last shareholders in attendance. Notwithstanding the above, I can already anticipate that the provisional quorum counted up to this moment exceeds the legal and statutory quorum required to declare the annual general meeting validly convened at first call and to decide on all the items on the agenda. It should be noted that the approval of the resolution included under item 4 of the agenda requires the favorable vote of 2/3 of the subscribed share capital, and 2/3 of the subscribed share capital with voting rights for item 2. The final list will be read in a few minutes and will be disclosed to the shareholders meeting before discussing the items included in the agenda as provided for in Article 22 of the AGM regulations. In order not to keep you waiting, we shall read out the attendance data after the Chief Executive Officer's speech when the meeting will be formally declared constituted. Now I give the floor to the CEO.
Gracias, José Manuel. Buenos días.
Thank you, José Manuel, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen, shareholders. I address you again to present the progress of our company in 2023, as well as our global outlook on the clean energy sector, which will continue to play a key role in the global economic landscape. The will to advance towards a carbon-free economy is less and less uncertain, which gives us hope. However, just like in any transformation, the energy transition is not a linear process, but rather it is subject to cycles. And some of these cycles, such as the one in which we're now, require challenges that bring adjustments and adaptations, but also opportunities for improvement and growth. 2023 featured different exogenous factors, which in combination we could describe as a perfect storm for the renewable energy sector. An upward trend in cost of capital, the price of electricity has stabilized downwards after a 2-year rally, an uncertain and volatile geopolitical environment, and a ever-changing regulatory framework out of step in terms of focus and timings. Despite the challenges, we start to see signals that foresee a change in trend. The price of energy futures is recovering. We expect a rate decrease, and in the midterm, we expect increased energy demand coming from new technologies, greater electrification of transportation, industry, big data, AI, and green hydrogen. Therefore, despite the impact of the factors I've mentioned, which are temporary, the potential and fundamental value of our company remains intact. Our operating assets are a reference, irreplicable in the market, and will be essential to satisfy the growing demand of electricity linked to the zero carbon economy and the digital revolution. The net zero emissions by 2050, expected by the International Energy Agency, will require an increase of energy consumption, such as adding a market the size of India every year. Or let's say the digital progress, which is very clean energy intensive. It is expected, the energy demand is expected to double in data centers in this time horizon. Therefore, we do see a great opportunity that ACCIONA Energy can capture to increase its value as developers of new assets from its very early stages down to the operations. This is backed by our 30 years of expertise and global reach, our proven capacities to originate and execute on the close to 15,000 megawatts that will be operational by year end. In 2023, we've grown extraordinarily. We've expanded our activity and increased and installed a number of megawatts that is ×3 the average growth of the last few years, a token of our capacity to execute. 2023 results, however, have been hindered by exogenous factors such as the drop in global energy prices and the accounting effects of the untimely parameter review of installations covered by the regulation in Spain. This, together with increased capital costs and financial costs in this industry, make our priority to maintain a balance between growth and balance sheet in a volatile revenue environment. Because of this, we have a more flexible approach to investments. We're not committing specifically to capacity. We want flexibility to move swiftly and adapt our capex to the ever-changing circumstances in the environment while leveraging opportunities and trying to maintain the profitability of our operations. I firmly believe ACCIONA Energy has reached a new high as a company in the market, completely prepared to leverage all options, but with a very realistic approach, with a responsible, differentiated strategy that enhances our resilience and overcome any type of cycle. Specifically, regarding the figures in 2023, we closed the year with a 3.54 billion euro in turnover, 1.2 285 billion EBITDA and a net attributable profit of 524 million euros. These results are slightly below the budget because of the factors I've already mentioned and an exceptionally low renewable resource in our market. This has been mitigated by the active management of hedging and by curbing the regular operating costs. A change in our consolidation perimeter since we've acquired a bigger stake in Renomar in Spain and Mora in Portugal, and the better results than expected in the American hemisphere have contributed positively to the results of 2023. Net debt at the closing of 2023 amounts to 3.73 billion euros, which is a 2.9 times debt to EBITDA ratio, which is growing, but it is still well below the average. And we maintain our credit rating agency rating. In operational terms, the total production has grown to 25 terabytes per hour in an exceptionally low asset environment and with more and more challenges to integrate with the network. We've worked to mitigate these effects, and in 2023, the active management of leaks saved some 600 gigabytes per hour in the year, which has eventually led to some 50 million euros in additional income. Regarding the capture prices of our assets in 2023, the company could benefit from a very well-balanced position, the active renewal of financial coverage, and our experience in adjustment services. In Spain, the average capture price of our assets was 105 euros megawatt per hour, which is 35% lower than in 2022, but still way above the national pool, which was 87 euros megawatt per hour, which we've captured thanks to our commercial policy, a well-structured commercial policy. In our international business, we've increased our contribution to the EBITDA by 37%, so the total amount is positive. The average price of energy in our total portfolio is 86 euros megawatt per hour, way above the prices that we foresaw with our IPO in 2021. Regarding growth, in 2023, we've confirmed our capacities to scale up our expansion based on the business and sector needs. The new installed capacity in 2023 was 1.7 gigawatts of new capacity, a new record and a milestone in our history. Specifically, if we compare with the average pace of 600 megawatts per hour, which was our usual pace in previous years. This expansion is driven by a strategy that does not seek excessive growth at the expense of profitability, but rather sustainable profitability and limited risk. In 2023, we explored more than 21 gigawatts of new opportunities driven by the inertia of our IPO. And thanks to that, in 2023, we've been able to hit very relevant milestones, such as resuming investments in India and Canada, very important markets, following a few years of inactivity in them, or the startup of our first wind farm in Peru, the building of the Logrosán biomass plant, or the final preparations for the hybrid storage system in Spain. I would also highlight the progress building our greatest project to date, which is the largest wind farm in Australia, McIntyre, with close to 1 gigawatt. I would also highlight that there's more than 1 gigawatt of new projects, solar projects in the US coming to operation, and most of them are part of a long-term contract with Amazon. We're also advancing new opportunities in the DR, Australia, South Africa, or Southeast Asia, a region where we're growing through our subsidiary, the Blue Circle. We've already started building a wind farm with them, Calayan, 100 megawatts in the Philippines, and very recently we've acquired a renewable development company with a sizable portfolio of projects. As a token of our acceleration in construction and the investment in new projects, the net investment cash flow last year was 2.321 billion euros. The year also experienced constant sales of energy in the long term to corporate clients, the PPAs, and our new sales target was reached. It's close to 1,500 terawatts per hour, and we've signed contracts with Australia and Spain. And we've successfully negotiated with some clients the adjustment of contract prices given the greater investment costs. Regarding the short-term energy sale, a business where we are leaders, 100% renewable in Spain and Portugal, in 2023 we have gone above and beyond our sales and margin objectives, and we've increased our market share. Among SMEs, we have more than 23,000 active contracts in Iberia. In 2023, we've organized our energy service activity since we want to offer a catalog that is increasingly focused on solutions for our clients that support the decarbonization and enable a comprehensive and optimized management of the use of energy in companies, municipalities, and public institutions. With this approach, we seek to sell energy as a service rather than a product, capturing more value and increasing the loyalty of our clients and expanding our differential assets. If I can share some key figures regarding energy efficiency, we manage more than 6,000 client facilities in close to 50 countries, which amounts to 1 terawatt per hour annual consumption, beyond the management of 50,000 light spots. And we continue to consolidate our activity in the energy flexibility French market and energy saving certificates. This is a service we are also offering in Spain. Regarding the electrical charging stations in cities and out of cities, we have more than 50,000 users registered in our platform. And in 2023, I would highlight our partnership with ACCIONA to install chargers in more than 500 parking spots across their 16 centers in Spain. We've recently pledged 1,000 chargers in the national market. We're expanding our offering in 2024, and we've started providing self-consumption services to residential and SME clients in Spain. And we're also offering a storage solution, charging points, and aerothermal solutions. All of these ancillary businesses are digitally driven. In a few years, we've moved away from operating on infrastructure to becoming a company that can manage a very sophisticated electrical energy consumption of our clients. The digital transformation is actively promoted throughout our value chain, and we are pioneers in the industry. In fact, over 70% of incident resolution in our control centers are resolved automatically and remotely. In terms of innovation, we are very active. We are advancing with new optimization models in renewable generation and new tech. In 2023, we've invested 25% more than last year in research and innovation, up to 130 million euros certified. Then this year, we've had a lot of activity regarding the EU funds. We've received more than 50 million euros for green hydrogen, batteries, repowering, in wind energy or circular economy projects. With our circularity initiative, I would highlight the recycling plant of wind blades in Navarra, or the pioneering projects in waste to industry. We are firmly committed to sustainability. In 2023, for the first time, we've become part of the Dow Jones Sustainability Index in Europe, which is one of the most demanding and best valued indices in the S&P. And we've been selected by Energy Intelligence for the 9th year in a row as the greenest electrical company in the world. regarding the S in ESG, investment has increased by 17% year-on-year, and this money is trickling down to 300,000 people. So this is the summary for 2023, and we are submitting to you a payout of 0.48 euros per share, equivalent to 158 million euros. In 2024, we are still committed to the sustainable growth in the long term, and the pace of installation of megawatts is similar to 2023. However, we are focused on maintaining our financial strengths in a downward trend of prices, particularly following the positive results of the last 2 years. We want to rotate some assets to strengthen our balance sheet and increase our capital gains. Regardless of the environment, ACCIONA Energy today is in an exceptional position. We have greater muscle to support growth in our industry and leverage the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity brought about by decarbonization and the digital era. However, we still depend on our operating assets to continue to invest and contribute to the climate cause. Therefore, it is essential that our assets are backed by the regulation and supported by the increased electrification of demand and the development of the transportation infrastructure that is necessary to prevent further distortions in the market, such as the ones we're suffering. I'm referring to the leaks and price cannibalization, the byproduct of inappropriate planning. The trilemma that was to be solved in any energy system used to be security of supply, sustainability, and affordability of energy prices. These three factors today can be clearly solved by renewable energy. However, there is a new trilemma, which is striking a balance between the orderly renewable energy share, the evolution of electrical demand, and the need for well-planned infrastructure so that the supply can meet the demand. Those who see the energy transition as a race to increase the volume of energy generated, they're mistaken. It's not a matter of installing more and more megawatts, making it more easy to install, but rather it's a matter of society and industry using electrical energy more efficiently and produced by renewable sources. Therefore, we must combine the different zero-carbon technologies as we plan an effective, orderly, and timely transition from fossil fuels. The renewable energy share should only increase when the demand is adapted and encouraged towards greater electrification, and emerging technologies are promoted, such as green hydrogen, to effectively produce the change away from fossil fuels. The energy transition is a matter of using renewable megawatts per hour, not just producing them. In order to favor the supply and the demand, planning must be methodic and it must go well ahead. We must plan for the use of infrastructures in the grid. We must not have bottlenecks. Without transmission, there is no transition. When these three vectors don't progress in sync, there will be distortions, probably temporary, but significant enough to curb investment in any country. This is what we see in our national market right now. The demand for electricity is falling. Now we're at levels of 20 years back. The pace of electrification is very slow. It is saturated, and mainly solar renewable energy production has the same schedule profile. I'm convinced these things will change. There will be new demand, and prices will adjust to that, and the old capacity will necessarily end, and everything will strike a balance. However, we remain optimistic in the long term. We are a better company today in terms of assets, prices, and opportunities. We understand how the various electrical markets are evolving, and we can anticipate and mitigate risks. and we will continue to work in this direction. I will leave it at that, but first I want to thank our employees and collaborators for their dedication, the board for their support, and all of you for your trust. Thank you very much.
We shall now proceed to validly constitute the annual general meeting. The AGM is being attended by 82 shareholders attending in person, holding 5,729,385 shares, including 4,867,460 treasury shares. Out of those shareholders in attendance, one shareholder owning 300 shares is attending through telematic means. 15 shareholders owning 80,078 shares have cast their vote through electronic means, and 24 shareholders owning 2,553 shares have done so through postal mail prior to this AGM. Now, there are 355 shareholders attending by proxy owning 304,099,151 shares. In total, 437 shareholders owning 309,828,536 shares, representing 94.10% of the share capital, standing at 329,250,589 shares are attending this AGM. Therefore, we confirm the quorum required by our bylaws for the constitution of this annual general meeting, with the AGM's capacity to decide on all the items of the agenda. In view of the information we have just read, we declare the annual general meeting validly constituted, so now the notary public can proceed to ask the questions to the meeting as provided by law. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I would like to ask whether there are any reservations or objections with regard to the statements by the Chairman concerning the number of shareholders in attendance and the share capital hereby represented. There being no objections or statements to be made, we can proceed, Mr. Chairman. Before discussing the matters on the agenda, I would like to inform shareholders that the board has accepted the resignation tendered by Ms. Cristiana Figueres for personal reasons. On behalf of the board and on my own behalf, I would like to convey to Cristiana our deep appreciation for her extraordinary commitment and contribution and service to this company and its parent company, ACCIONA, where she also served as a board member since 2017, if I'm not wrong, until 2023. Thank you very much, Cristiana, and we hope that you will remain in touch with this company and that you will continue to attend these annual general meetings, even though you will take a much more comfortable position sitting on the other side. So we shall now proceed to discuss and decide on the matters under the items on the agenda. Since the registration, the shareholders attending the meeting by telematic means have been able to submit their statements or communications to the notary public. Likewise, if any of the attendees wishes to participate, he or she must identify him or herself as a shareholder before the notary public and may do so from this very moment. If he or she also wishes his or her participation to be recorded verbatim in the minutes, he or she must deliver the written text of the same to the notary. Once the shareholders have concluded their turn to raise questions or comments, they will be duly answered. No request for participation or clarification has been received, nor have any questions been asked by the shareholders in attendance by telematic means. From the registration, the telematic attendees at this AGM can cast their vote either in favor, against, or abstain on the proposed resolutions on the agenda. Having therefore concluded the round of participation, we shall now proceed to present the proposals for resolution to this annual general meeting according to the items on the agenda to be subsequently voted. So I'm going to summarize the specific resolutions to be submitted to the annual general meeting. If you agree, I will spare you the full reading of such resolutions since the text thereof has been part of the public disclosures and will be shown on the screens. Those shareholders who wish that their abstention, negative vote, or objection to any of the resolutions be recorded may request so before the notary public, indicating their name, the number of shares they own or represent, and the sense of their vote with respect to each item on the agenda. Remote attendees who wish that their objection to any of the resolutions be recorded may also request so through the application and by means of the communication to the notary public tab provided therein. Let me remind you that the statutory rules for determining the votes are negative deduction for matters included in the agenda and positive deduction for matters not included in the agenda. Shareholders who so wish will have at their disposal the exact vote count on the company's website. The Secretary will now inform you of the documentation that has been available to all of you since the announcement of the call to meeting, as well as the resolution proposals submitted by the Board of Directors to the AGM, and likewise, and in furtherance of the information provided by the group, we should include the annual corporate governance report. No significant change has been made in the most relevant aspects of such corporate governance report, and the company continues to comply with all the recommendations of the Good Governance Code of listed companies that are applicable to it, except for number 48 concerning the splitting of the Appointments and Remuneration Committee into two committees, the explanation of which, why such splitting has not been formalized, is contained in the annual corporate governance report to which I refer. Shareholders have had at their disposal the proposed resolutions submitted by the Board of Directors in relation to all the items on the agenda, as well as all the documentation published on the company's website that is available to shareholders, and the list of which is now being projected onto the screens. We shall now discuss and vote on the matters included in the agenda. Let me remind the telematic attendees that from their registration until the end of the reading of the proposed resolutions, they may cast their vote. Under item 1 on the agenda and its respective subsections, the following is submitted to approval: the individual and consolidated financial statements, the individual and consolidated directors' reports, the board's corporate management and performance, the consolidated statement of non-financial information called sustainability report, the allocation of the company's result, which includes the distribution of a gross dividend of approximately 0.48 euros per share payable on June the 20th, 2024, and finally the re-election of KPMG as auditors of the company's individual and consolidated financial statements for fiscal year 2024, as well as those financial statements of the group. Are there any votes against or any abstention? Under item 2 on the agenda, the following is submitted to a vote: to reduce the share capital through the cancellation of 4,488,759 treasury shares, representing approximately 1.36% of the current share capital of ACCIONA Energía S.A., without any creditor's right of opposition, redrafting Article 5 of the company's bylaws relating to share capital, and requesting the delisting and cancellation of the accounting records of the shares to be redeemed. The capital reduction will be executed after the payment of dividend approved under item 1.5 of the agenda mentioned before. Are there any votes against? The item is approved. Under item 3 on the agenda, the annual report on board members' remuneration for 2023 is submitted to a vote. Are there any votes against? The item is approved. Under item 4, the authorization to call, if necessary, extraordinary general meetings of the company with a minimum notice of 15 days in accordance with Article 515 of the Spanish Companies Act is submitted to a vote. Are there any votes against or any abstention? The item is approved. And finally, under item 5, it is proposed to delegate to the Board of Directors the powers necessary for the implementation, interpretation, rectification, and execution of the resolutions adopted by the annual general meeting, all of the above in terms that have been made available to the shareholders. Are there any votes against? The item is approved.
Gracias.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. After reading the summary of the proposed resolutions under the items on the agenda, I declare the voting process completed, including that corresponding to the remote attendees who have been able to cast their votes from their registration, taking into account the counting of the votes cast by the shareholders attending in person as well as those attending remotely. I declare that there is an ample majority of votes in favor, and therefore all the resolutions have been adopted with at least 90%, notwithstanding that those of you who so wish will have the exact vote count available on the company's website or by referring to the notary public. At any rate, the results of the voting and any other developments of this annual general meeting should be duly recorded in the notarial minutes. We thus come to the end of this annual general meeting 2024. Thank you very much for your attendance today, and I now declare the meeting adjourned.